Good evening, dear viewers. Hello and welcome to a new edition of the Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdurrahim. Tonight we'll be talking about the situation in the war-torn Gaza Strip and also in the West Bank. We'll be updating you on the latest in the Israeli aggressions and atrocities in the West Bank, and not only in Gaza, and also, of course, talk about the Egyptian efforts to uphold the Gaza ceasefire, to have the Gaza reconstruction program launched and host a conference here, and also the diplomacy, and the mediation and the factions here in Egypt. A big role that Egypt is playing and trying to safeguard the Palestinians' rights. That will be our main topic, and with us here in the studio is Dr. Haneen Hazam Abu Shanab, and she's a member of the Palestinian Women Association. Thank you, Dr. Haneen, for being with us. Allows Dr. Haneen and allows dear viewers first to update our dear viewers on a top story here on Thursday before we get to the main topic, where Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli witnessed the launch of the high-level National Congress entitled Reform and Empowerment of Local Administration, Lessons Learned from the Local Development Program at Upper Egypt, organized by the Ministry of Local Development in partnership and in cooperation with the World Bank Group. The Prime Minister stressed that the local development program in Upper Egypt has turned into a national success story under the directives of His Excellency President Sisi, and has become a model for various international institutions as one of the most important programs to achieve sustainable development goals in the world. Madbouli highlighted that the program is an ambitious one that contains a plan of cooperation between the government and the private sector, and expressed his thanks to the concerned governors who made clear achievements in this program, pointing out that the program succeeded in providing many job opportunities for young people and women as well. And now to our main topic, Gaza and the West Bank, the occupied Palestinian territories, and Egypt's efforts to help the Palestinians in their struggle against the occupation. First, Dr. Haneen and dear viewers, a report. And then in the final 20 or 25 minutes or so, we'll be having continuous flow of conversation. So Dr. Haneen, please bear with us, dear viewers. Let's watch this report about Egypt's efforts to support the humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip. And again, as I said, the diplomacy, mediation, and other efforts.
Egypt has significantly intensified its efforts to support the Gaza Strip following a ceasefire. Egypt is adopting a comprehensive approach that spans massive humanitarian aid operations and robust diplomatic engagement. These efforts are aimed at providing immediate relief to the war-torn enclave, while simultaneously working toward a lasting political solution and reconstruction plan. At the heart of Egypt's immediate response is the unprecedented scale of its humanitarian operation. The Egyptian Red Crescent, working in coordination with various national and international bodies, has established itself as the primary conduit for aid delivery. Since October 2023, Egypt has supplied approximately 70% of all aid entering Gaza, totaling over 665,000 tons of essential supplies. This aid includes crucial items such as food, medicine, winter provisions, and tents for displaced families. Most recently, Egypt launched its 80th aid convoy, a massive undertaking carrying over 12,000 tons of various relief items. Beyond simply delivering goods, Egyptian engineering units have entered Gaza to clear rubble and rehabilitate essential infrastructure, such as the vital Salahuddin Street, to ensure the unhindered flow of aid to those most in need. Concurrently, Egypt is driving critical diplomatic initiatives aimed at consolidating the ceasefire and preventing a return to conflict. Cairo is a central mediator in ongoing negotiations, hosting international partners and guarantors including the US, Qatar and Turkey to ensure all parties adhere to the terms of the truce. A primary focus is transitioning from the initial ceasefire to the agreement's second phase, which involves key steps like an Israeli withdrawal and the establishment of an international stabilization force. Egyptian diplomats are also championing a political resolution, adamantly advocating for a two-state solution and rejecting the forced displacement of Palestinians. Looking toward the future, Egypt is focused on the monumental task of reconstruction and recovery. The nation plans to host an international conference to mobilize the global funding necessary to rebuild Gaza, with estimates suggesting a need of up to $70 billion. This forward-looking strategy seeks to address the long-term governance of Gaza by empowering the Palestinian Authority to take control of both the West Bank and Gaza, thus ensuring a unified and stable Palestinian administration post-conflict. Egypt's intensified support for Gaza is multifaceted, addressing both the immediate humanitarian crisis and the complex political landscape. Through its leading role in aid delivery and persistent diplomatic mediation, Egypt is demonstrating a profound commitment to securing a durable peace and a path to recovery for the Palestinian people.
Thank you very much, dear viewers, for staying with us. We're back here with Dr. Haneen, Hazam Abu Shanab, member of the Palestinian Women Association. But Dr. Haneen, I don't know where to start, from Gaza or from the West Bank. You take us to the starting point, because there is a lot to be said about both.
The pain is continued on both sides, like you're saying, and it never stopped. Even the top or the most spoken about is the genocide in Gaza, but the annexation and the continued also, not just genocide, but also apartheid since day one in the West Bank had never stopped, not a single day, especially during the horrific genocide in Gaza. It was actually maybe one way for them to keep us busy while they actually do their hidden agenda in the West Bank.
The reason I asked about the West Bank today, because we're seeing what's happening in Jenin today, Tobas,
yes.
Tulkarm.
Yes.
So, it's expanding.
Of course, they're targeting, so thank you. The actual pain is the UNRWA. So it's the cause or the problem of the refugees.
The absence of the UNRWA.
So starting back to 1948. Where it all started. So what they want is, if UNRWA is there, then we can always speak of the return of the refugees. We always return of the Palestinians to the lands that have been occupied in 1948. So they're trying to divert us from current solution. For now, we've always been calling for a two-state resolution, and that actually is established on the Palestinian lands that have been captured until 1967. So they've kept on pushing us to diminishing or making the scope of the Palestinian land that we can claim back as Palestinians. With what they're doing and what they've been targeting specifically in this genocide, as we've all, but they kept on throwing dirt here or there to cover the numbers or the attacks, is the UNRWA. So they're trying to close the refugee file as a whole. Why? Because this is the only organization that actually holds the true numbers of the Palestinians that have been victims of this displacement since 1948, and those who have the right to return to XYZ lands, whether towns or cities or whatever, since 1948. So they cancelled this. They demolished every facility that belongs to the UNRWA. They've been targeting the UN, and we've seen this live. Mr. Guterres hasn't been able to protect his people, which is a very loud violation, not just to international. This is the supreme entity or supreme organization that actually should be abiding or complying to whatever they announce or they regulate. So this was a very big question mark, and unfortunately until now it continues, the attacks or the violations against that. But again, this reveals the actual agenda behind that. So this is why the attacks in Jenin specifically, what they've been targeting is the camps, the refugee camps, whether in the West Bank or in the Gaza.
Jenin was one of the spots that at the start of the Gaza war, if I remember correctly, that saw some resistance moves against the occupation.
Always, and had never stopped. Jenin has always been a firing ball against the occupation, whether they enclaved it, whether they tried to put any siege on it. People there have been always firing with revolutionary blood, and they hadn't stopped for a single moment, actually. So they'll keep on trying to put this fire down, but the Palestinian blood is always angry for freedom.
Have we heard anything from the U.S. administration, from President Trump, regarding what's happening in the West Bank? Because we've heard the French president, for instance, denouncing this and saying he's not happy with it and blah blah blah. Have we heard anything from Mr. Trump?
Trump, as usual, is again he's a businessman. He wants to go through. So anything else is just mere. It's just nonsense. I don't want to hear it. So he will remain calm, or he will remain silent until he figures out or he decides on whether to say if he's actually putting this as part of his deal. If not, then he will act as it hasn't happened, as it's just noise. I'm not going to pay any attention towards it. Pardon me, because he wants the peace treaty to go forward.
Understood.
This is his goal.
Part of his 20-point plan was no annexation, right? But de facto, what's happening on the ground now, how can you describe it, Dr. Haneen, especially that in many areas in the occupied West Bank, we're seeing the settlers with their terrorist attacks, and the settlers are now armed, and Ben Gvir has armed them. And the Israelis keep saying that we're going into this or that camp searching for weapons. So what is happening?
Nonsense. They had tried to give them some public cover. So of the Israeli, let's say, civilians, has never actually been a truth. They're not civilians. All of them are actually armed. All of them are part of the army, whether they wanted it or not, whether they didn't really have a right of choosing. They're all called for whether some training, have a gun or two, the weapon. They are all trained to attack any Arab, not just the Palestinians. And this is their ideology, actually. They plant the seeds of this ideology from birth. Every Israeli-born child who are in the Israeli country, they are hatred towards Arab in total, not just the Palestinians. And they're the extremists, of course, but this is their ideology. This is how they bring up their children, upon hatred of the Arab, it's actually easy for them to kill, and this is how they're trained, that if you don't agree with me, I can just easily kill you. I don't have to fight.
So de facto on the ground, there is a danger, great danger of annexing without officially announcing annexation?
Yeah, it's always been going. They didn't really have to reveal it. They didn't really have to state it. It's been ongoing on a daily basis. We remember the woman, I forgot her name, the one who's hanging to the olive tree in the West Bank. She remains. The picture is stuck with every freedom fighter in the world. This is us, we're rooted to the ground, we're rooted to the olive tree, and it's a big symbol. Why? Because it lived for longer than their so-called country. The olive trees have always been a symbol of Palestine and this land. So annexation, continued despite the official statements of the leadership, starting from Mr. Trump, of course, and to the other supporters or other speakers of this peacemaking that they've been trying to establish. But we've seen with the ceasefire in Gaza Strip itself, it's actually been seized.
We're going to go to Gaza.
So,
but before we do so, so you've mentioned the two-state solution. Do you have a partner or even a potential partner in Israel in the near future that would support a solution, do you think?
Is there ever a partner in Israel? Regardless of any diplomatic or any peaceful approach towards reaching an agreement that actually serves both countries, there isn't. What more can the Palestinian offer above actually recognizing Israel as a state that hadn't been in, there is no history for Israel in the region. So we gave you this recognition and we gave our land. What more do you want?
And now what's left is what, 22% of historical Palestine? Is that the number? I don't know. I mean,
yes, unfortunately.
22%.
Yes, unfortunately. It is almost 20%. 20% is a very optimistic estimation of the land. Gaza,
so what Netanyahu is doing right now in the West Bank is yet another attempt to separate the West Bank from and to kill any potential for a future two-state solution.
Absolutely. This is the difference between what's being said and shared in the diplomatic talks and conversations and what's actually been happening on ground. They've always been having two agendas. One that they share with the public, with what they actually go and execute on the ground. And it hasn't changed.
Yeah, because we understand that or in the second phase, there is a talk about a path that would lead to self-determination and a potential Palestinian state.
Where is this and how is this going to happen, if the first phase hasn't actually been concluded, hasn't been honored since day one?
Again, before we go to Gaza, because Gaza is, in
the main hot topic.
Yeah, the main hot topic and the main resistance spot and heroics, really, Gaza is so special. The Lebanon, Netanyahu now, so after the so-called ceasefire in Gaza, he's now turned to the West, accelerated his occupation army's actions in the West Bank and also in Lebanon, in southern Lebanon. There's a clear acceleration of situation there. So how do you see these moves again by the Israeli war crime suspect prime minister?
Okay, so let's go back. America has always been giving them the cover, the international cover, for prolonging the time the agreement has been there, and everyone agreed, including Hamas and Israel, on all the terms that have been proposed by Mr. President Trump. And they agreed on the timelines as well, and that it's phased in 3 phases, and this is the first phase, and so on. They came to the first phase, and during the execution they said, no, we have some comments, we have some concerns. Why did they do this? Because they want to prolong the negotiations in the first phase, can expand their presence in the West Bank, to expand to the has always been there, and they've always been clear on the agenda. Netanyahu hasn't shied out from sharing this on the media, on public media, on international media, that what he's after is not just Gaza and Palestine.
Yeah, he even talked about so-called Greater Israel, right?
And he's executing that. The man is actually, I respect him. He's a man of his word. He says one thing and he executes it.
Allow me to differ with you, Dr. Haneen, because no one can respect a war crime suspect or a war criminal.
This goes without saying, but at least he's the one who's committing and what he said he wanted to do. It's a war crime, but he's doing actually everything he wants to attain his...
There ends, Dr. Haneen, from your words here, and maybe this is of many Palestinians, and especially those from Gaza. You've been deserted. Is that You know, there is that sense.
Yes.
I mean, you expected more, right?
Absolutely.
From your brothers and sisters, your friends, yeah.
Right. So the Egyptian role remains very noble, very noble and very sisterly to the Palestinian country. The two states have been living side by side throughout history, and Egypt has always been the bigger sister to Palestine. And from what we're seeing, Egypt is the only one still standing despite the many bribes, despite the many attempts to assault the Egyptian, حتى the national security has been at risk. The economical situations have been actually at risk. Mr. President hadn't been shaken by this. He knows his goals. Mr. Abdel Fattah Sisi, of course, President of Egypt, hasn't been, no, you're not going to scare me. I know what I want, and I know what's best for my country, and I know what's best for Palestine. And he's the one who stood very bravely against all attempts to displace the Palestinian people. And despite all of the pressure that has been exerted on him and the Egyptian land from the international countries, not just the Arab ones. And we've seen, unfortunately, shameful,
stances,
let's
positions,
say with the stances
from some
no, I can name them, and they know
Arab
themselves.
countries.
Yeah,
Arab countries, some Arab countries.
Unfortunately, you're not at war with them, and they're very far away from you. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, noble indeed, especially Dr. Haneen, about the clear position regarding the total rejection of the forced displacement of Palestinians from their lands. And of course, Egypt has tried as much as it can to trickle in the aid that Israel is blocking. There is the mediation efforts, of course. There are the Egypt talks to everyone, it talks to every faction, it is friends with all factions, it is a brother to all factions, and Egypt mediated with Qatar, Turkey and the United States, of course, the Gaza ceasefire deal in the conference co-chaired by President Sisi and President Trump. Now, and diplomacy is the diplomatic role, of course, need not say anything about for decades, how Egypt has been a big supporter, or the biggest supporter really, of Palestinians' rights. Now back to Gaza, because I mean the situation in Gaza is confusing. I mean there is fog, it's very foggy, we don't understand. The yellow line, every day, more Palestinians are, I mean, we thought that we would come to the day when no Palestinian civilians, women, children, elderly, youth would be killed. But now we're seeing again 10, 20, 30 each day. Although the Israelis have gotten back their hostages, those who were alive, and the black majority of the dead bodies, I think 1 or 2 only remain. So what's the story? Is there an attempt to divide Gaza?
Of course. That has been the goal, and that has been the plan for what's happening in Gaza. They want a certain percentage of the land in Gaza, and they were very generous to give the Palestinians just a bit to live in an even more condensed open air prison in Gaza. So the lines, they are nonsense. It's just a way for them to prolong the negotiations and to prolong the talks so that they have more time on the grounds to annex more in the West Bank, to expand even more in the Gaza grounds. And they haven't since 2005, and they've supposedly withdrawn their troops from Gaza Strip. But they haven't left the air, they haven't left the sea. They're even shrinking it more and more.
Yes.
The siege has been even more horrible and more, very suffocating the people in Gaza since forever, actually. So it's not just now. It's not just since
that was not in the 20-point plan, the Trump plan, dividing Gaza.
No.
But we're hearing a lot now about
the devil lies in
a lot
the
of talk. Yeah,
exactly. So they say 1, 2, 3 on the public.
One for the resistance factions and their supporters, and the other for the so-called good people where reconstruction will take place. Is that the evil plan?
Who are the good people?
I said so-called, yeah, of course. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Because again, everything is
of course,
so
all
vague.
Palestinians are one.
No,
I mean,
no.
yeah.
Again, thank you so much. This is not what I mean. What I mean is they kept everything very vague. So there are no actual precise description of what they mean by what. And every time we see, they said ceasefire, where is the ceasefire? The continuation of the bloodshed hasn't stopped. The continuation of the blockage of the aid hasn't stopped. So what construction is there? If the destruction is continued, what reconstruction is there? If more people are killed, what re-innovation is there?
Finally, Dr. Haneen, could you tell us how Palestinian women are living today, especially in Gaza, but I mean it's expanding to the West Bank, and some of the numbers of the martyrs, the women martyrs, be it mothers, doctors, journalists. I mean,
it's very painful.
Scary,
it's very painful to put a number on that. All of them are Palestinian souls, and it's just not the 2.5 million almost in the Gaza Strip and the almost 5 million in the West Bank, and I don't know how many out in the diaspora. The number is too much. The number is too large. So let's not just count them as numbers. These are souls. These are dreamers. These are potential leaders. So if we want to talk about some numbers, okay, I want to highlight something. November is a very busy month for the Palestinian calendar. It started from the 2nd of November, it's the Balfour Declaration. So it started with something very, very black. Something very black. And it's the one thing that gave them the space to do what they've been doing all until now. Since 1917, actually. 15th of November is the Declaration of Independence of the Palestinians in Algeria. Has been done by Mr. Yasser Arafat back then, and it started to bring to the light the PLO. Let me say, because you're mentioning women, the 25th of November is the day of elimination of violence against women. Almost 30,000, we can say roughly, women, whether women or girls, have been assaulted in the Gaza Strip specifically, whether injured, whether assaulted, whether killed. Too many.
God bless their soul.
Thank you so much, but I need to highlight something, because something that has been not reported in numbers, but aches us deeply. The number of Palestinians, whether imprisoned or on the ground, that have been assaulted on so many levels, by so many tools. Let's not bring them, because it's very horrific. I don't want to speak about it. It's very horrific. The 29th, 2 days from today, is the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, and I'm sure that everyone on the globe will be out in the streets or on social media, or they'll be speaking how they stand with the Palestinian freedom fighters all over the world. It's not just Palestine, it's not just Gaza or the West Bank.
Absolutely.
It's all over the world.
Absolutely, and anyone who believes in humanity stands alongside Palestinians in their struggle against the barbaric occupation. Thank you very much, Dr. Haneen. Hazam Abu Shanab, a member of the Palestinian Women Association. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, dear viewers, for watching the daily debate. In about 5 minutes from now, my dear colleague Basma Taha will take over with the news. Please stay with Nile TV.